Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. We've passed crossover. Now it's time to talk about those radical Republicans. President Lincoln, or as Senator Saslaw used to call him, Abe, pushed hard for the preservation.
The delegate from Scott will deliver a message to the Senate.
I got to protect my bills now. I need you to help. President Lincoln pushed hard, really, Mr. Speaker, for the preservation of the Union. But he actually was not someone who was at the forefront of pushing for equality and equal rights. Sure, he believed in it, but preservation of the Union was first and foremost. After the assassination of Lincoln, Andrew Johnson then became president. He was intentionally chosen by Lincoln in his re-election campaign because he was a Southerner from Tennessee. And Lincoln wanted to send a clear message that we wanted to hold the Union together. However, Johnson was a bit of an obstructionist. He did not believe in bringing the real progress that we needed. So after the midterms of 1866, what happened was Johnson started vetoing all of the progress. But who came to the rescue? The radical Republicans. The radical Republicans, led by Thaddeus Stevens and some others, said, yeah, we want to make sure that we keep the Union together, but we've got to be pushing for equal rights in all of its forms. Because what was happening, Mr. Speaker, is that the Southern states had seen the passage of these black codes. So before Jim Crow, but after the Civil War, were these laws called black codes that prevented people from reintegrating back into society the right way. And so Thaddeus Stevens and many others said, we didn't just lose 500,000 people to go backwards. And so, embarrassingly, Mr. Speaker, I didn't know about this picture or these people until I got to the General Assembly. I looked at this and I said, there were black delegates in the 1800s? And I had never known. And it was something that I didn't know why was maybe left out of the story, because I thought, Mr. Speaker, that progress for many Americans maybe didn't start until after the 1960s. But this progress, Mr. Speaker, of integration and reconstruction lasted for more than a decade until what was called the Great Betrayal of President Hayes. So there was this presidential gridlock. Believe it or not, there was this election where people were in gridlock trying to figure out what happened. And Republican presidential candidate Hayes made a deal. And he said, okay, I'm going to remove the troops and stop this reconstruction that's happening essentially from the South if y'all give me the presidency. And that was the deal that was made between Republicans and Democrats, really putting an end to this bright period of reconstruction in our history. This moment in our history in the 1800s, W.E.B. Du Bois wrote, "The slave went free, stood a brief moment in the sun, then moved back again toward slavery." That made me wonder, and it makes we should all wonder a little bit about what history would be like. The writers like Du Bois, who never published, the genius of George Washington Carver and Mary Jackson, whose minds were never tapped. But even in this roller coaster period of our history, Mr. Speaker, right at the tail end of Reconstruction, Virginia was a beacon of hope. Right at the end, there was a movement in Virginia called the Readjuster Movement. And there was this multiracial party, third party, that took control of the Commonwealth and ushered in public education, ushered in equality in many forms, and said we were ready to push through and finally leave these dark days of slavery and segregation behind us. You see, Mr. Speaker, that period in Virginia history was made possible by some radical Republicans. Last night, Mr. Speaker, we were playing some basketball. And my brother, Mike Cherry, who can ball, by the way, and my sister, Jackie Glass, over here, we were on the court together. And wasn't a white male Republican or a black female Democrat. We were just on the court, lovers of the game that was before us. Shirley Chisholm said that service is the rent you pay to be on this planet. And I hope that the love for service that binds us together here, Mr. Speaker, will help us, for our children's sake, meet these headwinds in the politics of today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.